But look, I must start the programme tonight. The 18-year-old that's been murdering those 3 little schoolgirls in Southport brings us this report.
Horrific attack in Southport that left 3 innocent young girls dead, 8 others injured, along with 2 adults. And now the significant development, the announcement by Merseyside Police.
Evidence obtained by Merseyside Police, production of a biological toxin, namely ricin, contrary to Section 1 of the Biological Weapons Act 1974, and possession of information, namely a PDF file, military studies in the Jihad against the tyrants, the Al-Qaeda training manual, likely to be useful to a person committing or preparing to commit an act of terrorism.
Well, the Southport attack led to a great deal of anger and an outbreak of violent disorder in a number of towns and communities in England.
More than 50 police officers were injured after bricks, stones and bottles were thrown and cars were set alight outside a mosque following the vigil of the 3 girls tragically killed in the Southport knife attack on Monday.
At least 90 people were arrested yesterday amid clashes. Prime Minister to take all necessary action to keep our streets safe from thugs who sow hate. In a number of schools, children are being taught, often by outside agents, that there are over 100 genders, or that we each have an innate sexed soul, a gendered soul.
Children were forced to call their female teacher Mix, a non-binary alternative to the normal Miss or Sir that you would expect. When questioning what the term meant, the child was sent out of class and given detention.
My child is not going back in that class. I regret sending them to that school. I feel like I've let them down.
This once great automotive brand saw 100 years of design and engineering excellence evaporate in 30 seconds with this. An advert featuring a diverse cast of actors dressed as Teletubbies getting out of an elevator and prancing round like a bunch of art school rejects. The ad is such a complete disaster, it doesn't even feature a car. This campaign will likely see this iconic British company go bust in a matter of weeks.
And there's very, very little money in it. Very little money, as you know. And then we got the budget. Now, I know a lot of people all across the country in all walks of life took a bit of a kick on the shin with that budget. You lot got a knee in the nuts. What is it, 72%? 72% of farms are going to be affected by this.
£3 million, they'll pay 20% and they'll have 10 years to pay it.
Oh, your cows, they're altering the composition of the gases in the upper atmosphere.
He's been cooking up in the lab. Gates is leading a new $12 million investment in an Australian firm called Ruminate that aims to stop cows farting to save the planet. Methane from cows' backsides is causing global warming. Arla Foods, the Danish-Swedish company that owns the UK's biggest dairy cooperative, is teaming up with the likes of Tesco, Aldi and Morrison's to feed its dairy cows with the gas-suppressing chemical mix. That means milk, yoghurt and butter you buy in the supermarkets could have been made from cow's feed with this new additive in. It's called Bovaer. Bovaer will make its way into cow's milk and then, of course, eventually into humans. It's made of silicon dioxide, propylene glycol, organic compound 3-nitrooxypropanol, known as 3-NOx, should be considered corrosive to the eyes. It's a skin irritant and potentially harmful by inhalation to humans.
Our asylum system is so broken that we let a twice-failed asylum-seeking lunatic sex criminal con artist burn a woman to within an inch of her life because a judge accepted that he was a Christian, even though he failed a Christianity test. Abdulazidi is this Afghan man. He doused a woman and child with alkaline in the middle of a public road and then threw himself into the Thames. He pretended to convert to Christianity so he could stay in the UK, despite having failed in his asylum bid twice. Here is the astonishing list of taxpayer-funded freebies that we give to illegal immigrants. Free bus passes again, free hotel accommodation at a cost of around £5 million a day to you, taxpayer. Some of those hotels are 4-star. In those hotels, they get free heating, their water bills are paid, they get free food, free television as well. So asylum seekers won't pay any bills for a TV licence or anything else, of course. Entitled to a house or a flat, which they also get for free. The government's own website says you'll be given somewhere to live if you need it. They get around £50 a week per person, just as spending money. They often get mobile phones and SIM cards, so no real phone bills for them. Legal costs. You pay for their asylum application, you pay the salaries of the public sector workers who judge their case, you pay for their numerous appeals, you pay again for the people who decide their appeal. Then you're paying for them to go to school, healthcare. Illegal migrants can use the NHS. They get free dental care and eyesight tests. Many of them won't speak English, so you pay for interpreters because they are genuine, needy asylum seekers who are fleeing war and persecution, and it would be completely heartless to suggest otherwise.
Folks, damning documents have been revealed from the Department of Work and Pensions as disabled pensioners lose their winter fuel payments this year. Roughly 1.6 million could actually miss out on the payment this winter. And to top it all off, Downing Street has confirmed that it carried out no impact assessment before making the decision, with medical experts warning people could well die this winter as a result.
What about the people who have worked all of their lives, paid into the state? How can you justify taking away up to £300 from those formerly working people?
So I'm not going to accept this challenge that somehow by paying that, because there's a £22 billion black hole. We have to deal with this year because we need to stabilise the economy.
Why do pensioners have to pay?
The Prime Minister is understandably keen not to end up on the losing side in the row over him getting access to a corporate box to watch his team Arsenal receiving gifts and hospitality.
Keir Starmer arrived at Downing Street promising change, but now he's being described as the king of the freebies. There have been free clothes, free tickets and free football. Starmer has received gifts worth a total of £107,145, the biggest amount of any MP. A single donor, Lord Wahid Ali, £16,200 for work clothing, £3,485 for multiple pair glasses, and over £12,000 from the FA Premier League Limited, £4,000 of which paid for VIP Taylor Swift tickets at Wembley.
All those people across the country who elected this government in on a mandate for change.
In 2009, Christopher Hitchens said of Islam, "Resist it whilst you still can, and before the right to complain is taken away from you, you'll be told you can't complain because you're Islamophobic." That day has sadly arrived. This week in Parliament, in the greatest parliament that Western liberal democracy has ever seen, Tahir Ali, a Labor MP, effectively called for blasphemy laws in the United Kingdom. We have that clip ready to go. Let's see it.
Last year, the United Nations Human Rights Council adopted a resolution condemning the desecration of religious texts, including the Quran. Will the Prime Minister commit to introducing measures to prohibit the desecration of all religious texts and the prophets of the Abrahamic religions?
We are, as I said before, Mr. Speaker, committed to tackling all forms of hatred and division, including, of course, Islamophobia in all of its forms.
So weak.
Today was a great day for people who think diversity is our greatest strength. Central London was brought to a screeching halt so that some Muslims could celebrate Ashura Day. So the Metropolitan Police decided to close several major roads so a procession could march through the capital. They said officers are present to minimise disruption and deal with any incidents. OK. Incidents like this? Should probably also point out at this stage that we contacted the Met Police and they told us that no arrests had been made. So, just so we are clear, this stuff would be bad in Britain. But this stuff is good in Britain. There's nothing wrong with religious celebrations, but does it just feel like maybe there are different rules for different groups of people?
27.6 million people who are waiting for some form of NHS procedure. That 121,000 people have died whilst they were on the NHS waiting lists and not treated within the specified time of 18 weeks.
The NHS Constitution says that you have a right to see a doctor within 18 weeks, and that isn't happening. And people are dying in pain and fear, hoping that there's going to be help coming, and that help doesn't come.
Can anyone save the NHS? Some treat it like a religion, not to ever be questioned. Undercover A&E, NHS in crisis.
Longest waiting, 46 hours the longest is on. It's going to be 4 hours. But
these people have been in 46.
Yeah, so we're not hitting any target.
In April 2023 and March 2024, nearly 400,000 people were left waiting more than 24 hours across A&E departments, a 5% rise on the previous year.
Hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of foreign nationals are eligible to vote in UK elections. In 2023 alone, 250,000 Indians, 141,000 Nigerians, 83,000 Pakistanis, 35,000 Ghanaians, 33,000 Bangladeshis and 21,000 Sri Lankans migrated to the UK. Now they, as Commonwealth citizens, received full voting rights on arrival. Strangely, Zimbabwean nationals can also vote in the UK, despite the country being thrown out of the Commonwealth in 2003. 36,000 of those migrated to the UK in 2023. Citizens of Ireland, too, a non-Commonwealth country, can take part in our elections, although that right is reciprocal. Now, the government-funded UK Council for International Student Affairs has put out a helpful voting guide for foreign students who are only supposed to be here for a couple of years, but will have a say in a parliament that will last far longer than that.
Should Britain have blasphemy laws? Now you might think that's quite an arcane question, almost a medieval question. But it's relevant now because the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, has refused to rule out introducing blasphemy laws after a Labour MP demanded that this government, the Labour government, his government, prohibits the desecration of religious texts, including the Quran.
Muslims, they want to do things according to what pleases their God. Yeah, that's why, we need Sharia councils in the West, because the civil system cannot deal with Islamic matters. The man can divorce his wife verbal. Now, if the wife wants a divorce, this is a serious issue. She has to go through a Muslim court. The differences between men and women. Yes?
This is more than disgraceful, if you ask me. This is downright perverse. The Home Office has dismissed the systemic rape of working class girls by grooming gangs as a grievance narrative in a report. Rape, systematic, the industrial scale abuse of vulnerable children swept aside as if the real problem is people being angry about it, right? As if you don't have a right to be. For years, thousands of girls were sacrificed at the altar of diversity, abused, ignored, abandoned, all because officials, those with a duty of care, were more terrified of being labelled racist than they were about the safeguarding of children. Predators saw these girls as disposable, as white trash, as far worse than I can possibly say on Ofcom regulated television. And the authorities looked the other way. And now, instead of reckoning that this shameful legacy is something we ought to just condemn, we get this instead. A report smearing anyone who dares to speak out as an extremist. I assume that makes me one. This isn't just tone deaf, it's absolutely bloody grotesque. I apologise if anyone is offended by the use of the B word. It's an insult to survivors, it's an insult to injustice, and it's an insult to the very idea of decency. While victims in this country, we have many on this channel, rebuild their lives, shattered lives, the most awful trauma that you can possibly imagine, officials are busy trying to control the narrative, even to this day, branding legitimate outrage, your legitimate outrage, as dangerous. This is the same cowardice and moral confusion that actually allowed these atrocities to happen in the first place. The British public has every right to be furious. It wasn't a mistake, it was a national scandal, a betrayal of the highest order of the most vulnerable. And now we're being told that expressing that anger about this abuse, that's the real problem here. The problem isn't the British public, the problem is the ideology of multiculturalism and the fear of offence that's turned basic truths into unspeakable heresies. Well, we're going back to the days of the Romans, with speaking about all of these things you can and cannot say. This isn't about a failure of policy, it's a failure of morality, and the public, rightly, won't stand for it. I find it absolutely disgusting.
I'm reporting this because no other television news channel will. Be warned, the following information is distressing. A grooming gang of refugees from Syria and Kuwait raped and abused a child in Newcastle, passing her around like a toy. Huzaifa Al-Aboud and Omar and Mohammed Badreddin subjected a 13-year-old girl to repeated rapes, taking it in turns, leaving her physically and emotionally scarred for life. They groomed the young girl, plied her with alcohol, and took turns raping her, while another individual, Kuwait national Al-Saumi, pictured third from the left, laughed at her. They threatened to kill her or take her out of the country if she spoke out about it. They tried to convert her to Islam. She started reading the Quran, and the court heard that in return they repeatedly raped, assaulted and abused her. The Badreddin brothers also pleaded guilty to violent disorder in relation to a BLM march in 2020, while they were on bail for the sex offences. But this story somehow gets even more shocking. Omar Badreddin was previously acquitted of a different sexual assault charge in 2016, and BBC Newsnight, who claim they've been following the story of the Badreddins since they arrived in the UK, decided to do a full feature on them. It was released the day Omar Badreddin was cleared of that previous unrelated sex charge 8 years ago. That feature is still available on YouTube, and it is called, unbelievably, To Hell and Back, the story of one Syrian family given refuge in the UK. The idea that Omar Badreddin had been through hell in Britain was repeated in tweets promoting the feature. It follows their journey of being accused of sexual assault. In the piece, the BBC claims the refugee family, quote, quickly found that in taking up the offer of sanctuary, they had replaced a war zone with a different kind of hell. Of course, the BBC were unaware of the awful crimes that he would go on to commit. But it doesn't end here. Al-Aboud, who was convicted of 2 counts of rape, assault by penetration and assault occasioning actual bodily harm, was sentenced to just 5.5 years. Al-Saumi, guilty of 3 counts of sexual assault and assault by penetration, got a suspended sentence. There is no talk of even trying to deport these monsters. In fact, we asked the Home Office if they were considering it. They told us it wasn't really their responsibility before the Ministry of Justice referred us back to the Home Office, who then eventually said that those eligible will be deported at the earliest opportunity. It's a circus, isn't it?
This victim, who Charlie's spoken to, was groomed and exploited by gangs of men in Rotherham. Her abuse quickly escalated from grooming, and she was sexually exploited on several occasions.
Now, only one person has ever been convicted for her abuse, but many others were involved in her exploitation, and she still seeks a missing file, crucial to the prosecution.
I've known Elizabeth for years. It's not her real name. She still lives in secret due to the nature of the abuse that she endured, and the fact that so many of the perpetrators from that period still walk freely around South Yorkshire, and her being trafficked from Rotherham to Bristol, a 6-hour drive, when she was used as a commodity as part of a drug deal between 2 gangs. 2 Pakistani men took her down on that day in the mid-2000s. She was abandoned in the town. The local police, when they were phoned up and informed about it, said, "We're not a taxi service. She'll have to make her own way back." She was on a train from Bristol to Rotherham for several hours, supported by a whistleblower I know, who was her support worker at the time in the supported accommodation she was in. When she returned, they took all the evidence they could. They captured all the information about that incident, and they kept it in a file. Police officers and local authorities were really failing to support victims of group localised child sexual exploitation. They didn't see them as victims, they didn't believe them, they didn't think they were credible, and frankly, they didn't care. So when they had all that evidence and they went to the police, nothing was done. Years later, when the scandal broke in Rotherham, the National Crime Agency stood in and launched Operation Stovewood, which is their historic investigation into non-familial allegations of sexual abuse in Rotherham. this case was brought out, Elizabeth's trafficking to Bristol. And she had nicknames for these men. She didn't know their real names, but they are immense investigators, and after a couple of years, they found them. They, working with the CPS, charged them. But when it came to court, a judge threw out the case because they said there wasn't sufficient evidence.
News from Rochdale.
Right. Rochdale grooming gangs are still preying on girls. Whistleblower warns 96 men pose risk to children as damning report reveals police left victims at the mercy of pimps and abusers who impregnated and threatened them with guns. It's just been going on for over a decade. And again, another damning report, this time implicating Rochdale Council and Greater Manchester Police, who have apologized because these girls, a huge number of them, were let down for so many years,
and they're still being let down,
and
still going on.
And that's the irony of it. The whistleblower. We have two, let's say, heroes of the story. That's the only positive element of the story. These two ladies who maybe are due for some sort of recognition because nobody believed them at that time, and they bravely stood up, rang the alarm bells.
One of them quit their job in the police force to expose this.
Exactly. And
one aspect of it is always the reporting as well. And I know a lot of people draw attention to this on the BBC, but it's happening here in the Daily Mail as well. They always say gangs of mainly Asian men. Well, that seems an unnecessary. If you're going to identify with the organising principle, the connecting trope of these men, they're not Asian. That's a vast continent. They're not Chinese. They're not Korean. They're not even Tamil. They are overwhelmingly Pakistani and Afghani men from a particular region of Pakistan. They're from the northwest frontier. They're not from Karachi. They're not from Lahore. And they will not do this. They say Asian men, and I don't know whether that's an attempt to kind of diffuse the. I mean, that could create a lot of problem for other Asian men who are not part of this community.
Or sensitivity is what we got into this mess in the first place.
Exactly.
It's a cultural issue that they're trying to pass off as a racial. Well, racists will say it's a racial issue, but it's not. It's a cultural issue. As you say, it's from a very specific part of Pakistan predominantly. There are cultural attitudes towards women and rape and all this, and this needs to be addressed.
The Pakistani flag with the Islamic crescent and star was hoisted above Westminster Abbey was that they kept the flag flying all day. Christians are persecuted in Pakistan. Occupations that are deemed low, dirty and degrading, such as working as a sewer cleaner, are reserved for Christians by the authorities, reportedly. I don't think there are too many mosques flying the St. George's flag, but I am old enough to remember back in 2012 when some British Muslims burned the St. George's flag and told the Queen to go to hell. Palestine flag, the Ukrainian flag, the gay pride flag, the EU flag, sometimes all of them. In fact, in Britain, it seems like the only flag you're not allowed to like is your own. In Luton, the local council has hoisted the Palestinian flag above their building. We've got a hospital in Bromley that unveiled a bridge wrapped in a giant three-sided intersex inclusive flag showing the LGBT plus rainbow. In Glasgow, the council debated a motion from the Greens that wanted to remove the Union flag and replace it with the Palestinian flag, the Cuban flag, the French flag for Bastille Day, the German flag, the Pakistani flag, the Ukrainian flag, and of course, not to be forgotten, the Scottish flag as well. Now compare this to the Royal Mail banning the St. George's flag being flown on their vehicles. I mean, they are called the Royal Mail, for goodness sake. Then there's the left-leaning Independent running headlines like this. Is flying a St. George's flag an act of patriotism or a symbol of all that is bad about England? One Labour council banned the St. George's flag because it was offensive to their 16 Muslim constituents. P&O Cruises reportedly stopped people flying the Union flag as their ships sailed back to Britain because apparently it was deemed offensive. Emily Thornberry's infamous tweet during the old Rochester election campaign appeared to mock the St. George's flag and indeed white van men. There is a sense in Britain that we have to bow down to every other culture, religion and flag. Are this lot not the real ones obsessed with flags? Or this lot?
We don't even look after those we have. Our government has no respect for veterans. That's true here. Newcomers to the UK are housed in four-star hotels, and many of them in accommodation built for our fighting men and women, while countless numbers of our veterans struggling with all the consequences of military service, wounds, physical and mental, PTSD, are homeless and ignored on the streets they gave so much to defend.
Watch the moment a postman was thankfully saved.
after being pushed onto the underground track. Kurdish migrant Bra Shorsh shoved the victim, who he didn't at all know, onto the tracks on the 3rd of February. Shorsh denied trying to kill him in court, saying he did it as revenge because the victim, a postman, had given him a dirty look. Then it emerged that Shorsh is a Kurdish migrant who had already been convicted of sex crimes and was facing deportation at the time of this senseless incident.
Is our police force too obsessed with diversity? We know that if anyone shouts anything fruity, then, well, you will be sent to prison. However, here's how the police got stuck into Pakistan Independence Day. Yeah, and there's a little bit more, I think, that we've got for you as well, of some police dancing up in Manchester for good measure. And as we all know, they really like to get involved in pride events, don't they? And of course, we can't forget Notting Hill Carnival. And the Palestine marches. I mean, here is one police officer making her views very clear.
Free Palestine!
Look, we've just had a police force found to have discriminated against white police officers, instead promoting an ethnic minority candidate and a...
Salam alaikum. Good morning, everyone, and thank you to the leaders and elders that have afforded me this opportunity to speak to you personally. The police are equipped, we're well trained, and we very much will be directly dealing with any of that sort of issue on behalf of everyone that lives in the West Midlands. Shukran.
And then the Metropolitan Police began a statement, which you'll see on your screens now, by saying that diversity is our greatest strength. Today, the police close roads around our capital city so we can all celebrate Pakistan Independence Day. This is the same police force that issued dispersal orders so England football fans couldn't gather and watch the Euros final. The police have also said that they'll be on hand to provide community reassurance. What does that mean? You know, when Ethel, who's in her mid-80s, looks out of her window and calls the police to say, sorry, I've accidentally woken up in Pakistan, they'll just reassure her that no, in fact, thousands of people have taken to the streets to celebrate the independence of a country they obviously don't want to live in that happens to be located more than 12,500 kilometres away. In Birmingham, the Lord Mayor has been busy hoisting the Pakistan flag as well. Birmingham will be lighting up their main library in green and white to celebrate as well.
If I wasn't this colour skin, if I wasn't a practicing Muslim, he wouldn't come for me. He wasn't coming for me because I'm 5'6". My ethnicity and my religion, I have a responsibility to speak out if I think something's affecting not just Londoners, but affecting all of us. I'm quite clear in relation to the importance of the police having my support, but also me challenging them, and I'll continue to support the police. It's like being back at sixth form. There are better debaters there.
Did you talk to handsome and intelligent men at sixth form as well?
I mean, honestly, Chair, for someone who reads a lot, he ain't half thick, isn't he?
Listen, no. Listen.
I would.
That's when I know you're in trouble. When you start getting personal, that's when I know you're in trouble. So remember that you're the Mayor of London and you're a grown man. Well, nearly. You're a grown man, and you should act accordingly.
The Labour Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, is to receive a knighthood in the New Year's Honours List. Does he deserve it, Ben? What do you think?
Well, he deserves a lot of things, and knighthood's not one of them. For what is he being given this knighthood? Crossrail was late and over budget. Knife crime in London is up. TfL doesn't work. It's basically bust and had to be rescued by the government. Council taxes are going through the roof. Police, there aren't enough police on the streets in London. I mean, any metric you wish to choose about London, it's basically deteriorated over his time in office. I wouldn't give him anything. I'd be booting out of the office. I'd abolish the role of the mayoralty of London.
I think these people need looking into. They don't look legitimate at all.
Especially when we were just walking around there, having a nosy, and there's like students, young girls.
Yeah, there's a college right here. And there's going to be 700 undocumented illegal men in that building for the next 9 years. That's 700 people in front of your daughter, your grandma.
Not kids.
Well, yes, you've got a grandma. You got family. They're in front of your family. They shouldn't even be here. They entered the country illegally. They broke into the country, didn't they? Welcome to the Dragonfly Hotel, 3-star, overlooking a lovely picturesque bit of river. You love it. Cup of tea out the back, bit of cake, Victoria sponge. Yeah? Where you guys come from? Before here?
Don't pay attention to them, come on.
Calling the Holiday Inn, London Heathrow, M4 Junction.
Is that a Home Office contract?
3 hours.
There's no date for reopening to the public?
No.
Okay, have you got the heating on in there?
Sorry?
Have you got the heating on?
Yes.
You got it. Do you want to turn that off? Turn the heating down. You've got it on 25.
Disabled pensioners lose their winter fuel payments this year. The 1.6 million could actually miss out on the payment this winter.
Today we are in Warwick and this hotel has been highly requested. Had over 50 people say, come and check this hotel out.
Hello.
Hello.
Where are you from?
What?
Where are you from?
Media. How are we, guys? Okay.
Call the reception.
Call the reception. Beautiful hotel.
You can't go
It's
inside.
so nice.
Hello. Just come. They have this brief.
Are you the manager here?
Yeah. Why are you going inside? Stop.
NHS. We've got the NHS in here.
Yeah.
Brilliant. NHS in there.
Yeah. Why are you going inside?
Jeez.
7.6 million people who are waiting for some form of NHS procedure. That 121,000 people have died whilst they were on the NHS waiting lists and not treated within the specified time of 18 weeks.
Got a whole gated community here, and 7 months ago, a man was stabbed on this site. Search it in Google, it will tell you a Derby man, but it wasn't a Derby man, was it? It was someone that had crossed the channel, done a few years in a hotel. Once you've done a few years in a hotel, you get your own gated community. Victorian luxury mansion. They've got a few other outbuildings out the back and round the side, which they're probably also staying in.
That's Station Hotel, Jodie speaking.
You right, Jodie? Could I book a room, please?
I'm afraid we're actually closed to the general public just now.
Oh, what? Have you only just closed, have you?
No, we've been closed since June last year.
Okay, how many you got in there?
We've got a full house just now.
Full house. What's that, 200? Are they getting free meals or are they getting the money instead?
Sorry?
Are the meals provided with the hotel?
Sorry, could I ask who's calling, please?
Yeah, sure, it's the Home Office Hotel Inspector.
Ah, right, okay. Yeah, so they get meals, they get breakfast and dinner included in their meals here, and lunch they provide themselves.
And as for leisure and exercise, do they get any exercise? Do they get out?
Yes, I believe so, yes.
£5 million a day to you, taxpayer. Some of those hotels are 4-star.
Not allowed to enter in the premises of the hotel.
Okay. Where are you from yourself?
Myself.
Yeah.
So for what purpose you are asking for?
How long have you been a security guard?
I'm not answering for my personal questions.
Okay, so yeah, is it true 146 asylum seekers moving in here today?
No, I'm not allowed to do so. To tell you how many are here inside.
What we got pulling up here? Basmati rice truck. Are they delivering here, are they? Right, on time. No, I'm not going to stop recording, unfortunately.
This is private property.
I'm here to document what's going on at this hotel for the locals. What are you screwing your face up for?
Don't give me that. Excuse me?
What? She's screwing her face at me.
We don't do that. We've got a job to do, okay?
Yeah,
Just
okay.
unload the furniture.
You're gonna offload some furniture?
Yeah.
I'm gonna stand there and film it.
No, you're not.
I am. I've been told that I can't film them offloading furniture from a truck.
Yes, my friend.
We're gonna walk around the back now, alright?
But you are not allowed.
Well, I'm going around the back now. Look at this, look. The illegal immigrants are actually filming this right now. They cannot believe. Cannot believe it. I am. This is public, this bit. It's public. No, I'm calling this place. What I'm explaining is basically, people used to sit here, right, and have afternoon tea. Just QR codes again. Should we give it a scan, shall we? It's in this bit.
Excuse me.
Is that the rooms down there, is it? All these QR codes. NHS again. Frequently asked questions. Why do I have to share a room? Just getting the basic information. Lunchtime? See? PG tips? And then in 2023, they refused a bed here, a room, so we smashed £12,000 worth of windows. Yeah, another 4-star that they say they're not staying in. But we could tell you otherwise. You got a review from Henry VIII. Good company, good wine, good welcome can make good people. Henry's Restaurant. So this is the 4-star Old Palace Lodge, 85 bedrooms. They have got a lovely little garden there as well. Oh, it looks lovely in there. Can we have a quick look in there? People out there say they're not in 4-star hotels. Well, guess what? They are in 4-star hotels. Look at this architecture. This is a 16th century country house. What hotel is a 50-bed Mercure? It's beautiful. Wait till you see this place. 16th century country house where Charles II stayed. Back out all over the country showing you what's going on. Hey.
Hi, what's happening?
Come to film this building.
Film?
Yeah.
What film?
This building. Doing a documentary on the housing crisis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
Look at this building. I mean, this is what they're doing with your taxes. This is the open borders experiment they were talking about. Housing office, housing information in Arabic. Nothing to say, guys. I'm not allowed to come here. Bit ironic though, isn't it? I'm trespassing. Yeah. Do you not think that's a bit ironic? You see the irony in it or not? People have entered the country illegally with no documentation. They're placed in here.
The door is open. Come in. Make us your home again.